Hi everyone. I wanted to share with you a recipe that I use every time I do a brunch get together. It's one of my most requested things to have along with the Christmas morning wife saver from my family. This Christmas morning I made 2 batches of this recipe, and I find that it's not enough. Like, I think that I might have to do 3 batches next time I do a brunch because they like it so much, and we usually like to have a little bit of leftover to have for the following mornings, but really we ended up with none. We ended up with a little piece because my sister-in-law forgot to bring the one that she was going to bring home with her. So we ended up with, I don't know, maybe a 2-inch slice left. But it's a super easy recipe. It looks like you worked really hard. It's really looks quite fancy, but it's really simple. So I hope you enjoy this recipe. If you have any questions, just put it down below and I'll try to reply. And I hope you guys like it. Let me know if you try it out. Excuse my sweatshirt. This sweatshirt is over 19 years old. I got it when I was 25. It's my vintage, I'm calling it vintage because I won't call it ratty, Club Monaco shirt. And I love it. But anyways, it's quite like well loved. I even have a little thing here, and I didn't do that on purpose. Okay, the ingredients that you need for this recipe are a package of frozen puff pastry, and you have to take it out of the freezer 2 hours before you start making the recipe because you have to have it obviously thawed. 8 slices of bacon, and the bacon you have to fry up and then tear and put into the next ingredients, which is a pound of pork sausage meat. And I usually buy the kind that's in the freezer that's in a plastic tube. I use that, and I just use 1 tube worth. Let's see here. Half a cup of onions finely chopped. 2 cups of fresh mushrooms sliced, and I didn't include the mushrooms in this recipe. My children and husband prefer it without the mushrooms. I like mushrooms, but sometimes I include it and they just have to eat it, and sometimes I don't. And I forgot to buy it this time, so they lucked out. 1 medium tomato sliced, pepper to taste, and 1 egg beaten. And the egg is used to coat the puff pastry just to make it more golden. I didn't do it this time. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. I've used this recipe for so long that I know how to assemble it, so a lot of times I don't even go to the recipe and read it properly, and I'll miss certain steps, but that's okay. It still turns out great. So first thing we have to do is remove a package of puff pastry from the freezer 2 hours before cooking, and then it says here to cut brown paper to fit edged cookie sheet. So I think when it says an edged cookie sheet, it means like a jelly roll, you know, the ones that have a little bit of a side, because when you bake this sausage roll, there's a lot of fat that comes off of the sausage meat, and it'll drip into your oven if you don't have the edged baking sheet. And I guess the brown paper absorbs some of the fat and makes the bottom puff pastry crispy. You'll see that I didn't do that. I used parchment paper, which I like to use, but it doesn't make the bottom as crispy as the brown paper sheet would. And I also, instead of using a jelly roll with a lip, I used my pizza stone, a square pizza stone that I always bake with, and I just put the jelly roll thing underneath it, so all the fat drained into there. I got this recipe from the Best of Bridges. I think I mentioned it before, so you can always Google Best of Bridge Sensational Sausage Roll, and I'm sure you'll find it. It's sort of like, you know, those miniature sausage rolls that you get as an appetizer? It's like that, but bigger version and it looks fancy. And that's it. So I'll show you how I go about making this. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know again how you, if you try it out or what you think of it. All right. First thing I do is I fry the bacon and tear it into bite-sized pieces. Add the bacon to the sausage meat. Fry onions in a tablespoon of bacon fat. Well, I'm making my sensational sausage rolls, and Lexi is making cookies, and Jordan is making cookies too. So we're very, very busy since we lost 2 days, but we're getting her done. Thoroughly mix the bacon and cooked onions in the sausage meat. Set aside the sausage meat and we will start using the thawed puff pastry. I flour the puff pastry so that it won't stick to my rolling pin. And now I am going to try and flatten the puff pastry to probably about a 1.25 feet in length and about 1/2 foot to 6 inches in width. The pastry should be maybe about 1/4 of an inch thick, and it's a very easy pastry to use. If you find that it starts to stick to the rolling pin, just add a bit more flour. Underneath my pastry, I use parchment paper. I like using parchment paper because it doesn't stick to the pastry. I'm able to roll it out on there. Anyway, so what I'm doing now is I've taken the sausage meat that's been well mixed, and I am trying to fit it into sort of a tube-like shape in between the ends of the puff pastry. I'm leaving about 1.5 inches in width on each side so that I can start cutting up the strips. So I'm taking a knife and I cut up about 1 inch width strips from the puff pastry, and I go and I do this on each side. Just I don't even know how many, I kind of guesstimate, but I do try to make it 1 inch in width so that it looks uniform once I braid the pastry. I am cutting up a medium tomato and I'm just slicing it thinly to place on top of the sausage meat. I take the tomatoes and place them on top of the sausage meat. Make sure that it fits. Now I add salt and pepper, just a pinch of salt, and some fresh ground pepper to add some flavor. And then I start to braid the pastry. So I fold the top over, and then I start placing one strip down on an angle, and then I do the other side. I just keep on switching sides, and it starts to make sort of a braid pattern. I go all the way down, and if some of the strips are a little short, I stretch the pastry just to get it to fit properly. So I continue to braid, sorry about my arm, and all the way till the final strip. But as you see, once my hand is out of there, it makes a very pretty pattern. This is a very simple recipe, but it looks like you spent tons of time making it, and it's absolutely delicious. Like I said again, it's a recipe that is highly requested in my family, and I'm going to have to make probably 3 batches next year. Sorry about the filming. My son did it, and I wasn't aware of my arm. Now I've cut the parchment paper about 1 inch around the pastry dish, and I placed it on my cookie sheet. I'm taking a wet, damp paper towel. I place it on top of the sausage roll. Since I'm not going to be baking this until Christmas morning, I've stored it with saran wrap on top of it, and underneath is the wet paper. Now store it in the refrigerator until you're ready to bake Christmas morning.